And we're back. We're up. We're running. I think everything's working out nicely on that front. Okay. Today is Dredge Day. Today is the day we try to figure out if the version of Dredge that gives 0 fucks is the best version. And to clarify what that means, we're not running any Force of Wills, we're not running Force of Vigors, there is no Noxious Revival. We're not really trying to prevent people from hating on this deck, we're just playing the all-in gamble that they're not going to be able to do that 2 out of 3 sideboard, or 2 out of 2 sideboard games, and 2 out of 3 games in a match. So a few huge discrepancies between this list and every other list, because if you play Vintage, you probably don't recognize this list at all. I've never seen anybody else play this version. Not sure why. Maybe today we'll find out why, right? First and foremost, some of that's really standard. The bottom row is very standard. You have your 13 Dredgers, you have your 4 Bazaars, which is how you turn all this on, and you have 4 Serum Powders to get to those Bazaars. Very basic. Also very common, 4 Ichrid, 4 Prized Amalgam, 1 Hogaak. Common payoff cards, ways to grind, ways to get into the game and do some damage. Pretty common. 4 Creeping Chill, also extremely common. Just free helixes, essentially, off the top that dome people. It does a lot. I don't know if these are necessary in the end, but to be fair, it's a free black spell, and this is a deck that's all about getting free value off of Dredge.
Not that, then what?
Right, that's kind of the other issue with Dredge, is there's a limited number of cards you can play because you are playing 0 ways to produce mana. Everything has to be coming out of the grave or coming for free from your hand. There are 12 discard spells in this build versus other builds. In other builds, you'll just see somewhere between 2 to 4 Cabal Therapy, which are excellent with the Ichrids and the Prized Amalgams, and just utilizing that to make sure that you are getting maximum value and tearing their hand apart so they don't get to interact. My build goes a little bit deeper, and we go to the full 12, and we play the Unmasks and the Griefs. My reasoning for this is we're not playing Force Will anymore. We're giving up the fact that they're going to be, you know, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10% of Vintage matches where the opponent wins the die roll, goes off turn 1, and you're screwed. And that's just how it is in Vintage. But to be fair, the other builds don't really have enough blue targets for Force of Will to consistently be cast, because in most scenarios you replace these Unmasks with 4 Force of Will, and then these are going to be Noxious Revivals. That's not enough blue. 12 is not enough to reliably cast Force of Will.
You gotta get pretty fucking lucky.
Right, so if you're going to get lucky, why not just go aggressive? And that's what I like about this list, is it goes extremely aggressive.
This is also better with Ichrid.
Ichrid and with Bridge from Below.
True.
You do get the evoke trigger into the sack. The last piece that's very different on this list versus the other lists, they all have Bridge from Belows and Narcomoebas. My build has Dread Return Flame-kin Zealot. Why? Because this lets you win right fucking now. And that was the whole point of this, is right now. Hey, what up, Skithum? Tunes are a little too loud. Got it. Gonna correct that right now. Let's dump it back into this and pop it down a little bit. Okay. Feel free to let me know if the tunes are still a little loud, but hopefully that corrects the problem. And we're doing this a man down at the moment. Darth Zero's a little bit sickly, so it's going to be a little less on the production end this time. I apologize. We're not going to be able to...
Too many death sticks.
Yeah, too many death sticks. Died a little. The thing I love about Flame-kin Zealot is it gets around those Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale issues, where this build normally would be like, okay, we have to get there on Ichrids against Tabernacle. My build gets to just reanimate with Bridge from Belows and Dread Returns, flip this into play, and often you get 7 zombies that all of a sudden get +1/+1 in haste. So you can deal 21 damage on turn 1, I think, if you get extremely lucky. I'm trying to think. No, it'd have to be turn 2. This doesn't win turn 1 in the current iteration because you can't get the Bazaar to dredge things quickly enough. But you can win turn 2, and far more often than I thought you could. And in the meantime, you can tear their entire hand apart. So, that's the deck. It's a very brief explanation, but to be fair, it's a very simple deck. It's tear their hand apart, dump everything into the grave, and reanimate as fast as you can to hasty win.
Take an enormous crap in their mouth and hope it suffocates them.
Exactly. The piece that I'm very unclear on is whether or not the 1 Hogaak belongs.
I'm curious about that myself.
I don't know. Well, if not that, then what becomes, again, the question. But During the recovering from recent podcast. That was the Secret Layer podcast.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of death sticks on that podcast. Okay. Yeah, we can get this out of the way. And if you want to do a little shuffling for me real quick while I lay out the sideboard, that would be lovely. So this is what we're taking up against the Gauntlet today. Now, the sideboard is going to change. I'm going to put that out there, but I think it's worth discussing what is...
Here's what not to do.
Yeah. So you get a few different concepts here. Again, we're not doing Force of Vigors, so we're not doing a bunch of Noxious Revivals. The sideboard is going to end up on some number of Petrified Field. It may be 1, it may be as many as 3. I don't know. But Petrified Field is a really strong way
Tell
to...
people what it is.
It's a land that taps for a colorless mana, so I already like the fact that it can help you get around Thalia on turn 1 and let you still unmask, hit Grief, kind of play around it a little bit, but more importantly, you can tap, sack it, and flip a land from your graveyard back into your hand, which means it's insurance for your Bazaars. So if they get wastelanded out, you just throw them back into your hand, play them again, and keep rolling. So I like that a great deal. This build is very, how to put it, it's very focused. I wanted to win the mirror, so I put 9 cards dedicated to beating the mirror, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get locked out by things like Mono White Initiative, which is why we ended up on Sickening Shoals and Contagions. That said, I also wasn't aware of the existence of a card from Modern Horizons until literally 5 minutes before we started this. Was it Force of Despair, if I remember correctly? That is like a one-sided Wrath effect for this deck, potentially. And I'm really curious about trying that, so I'm...
So you also kind of fucked up by not getting the original art Contagion that has like a black cat on it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. I think I just went with the first one I saw.
It looks like something that was in like a Commander product or something, where they look at all this cool stylized old art and they're like, hey, we're wizards, how do we make it bad, though?
Right.
So this is dope. It's a bunch of fish barfing on a guy.
It should be noted, this is not even close to the first time I've played Sickening Shoal. It's not my favorite deck with Sickening Shoal. The best deck ever was the Talawisp deck. I don't know if you remember that standard.
Way back in the day,
that was Kamigawa.
Kamigawa block, original Kamigawa.
Yeah, and that was one I actually took to a JSS and smashed everybody with Ghost Councils and Talawisps and Shining Shoals and Sickening Shoals. It was black-white Orzhov grind, and I think it had Jetty too. And
I hope so.
You just grinded through everybody, but you had so many free spells, and the Talawisp just kept giving you gas for your shoals. It was wild how good that deck was for about a month before everybody figured it out and blew you out of the water. But anyway, neither here nor there. Sickening Shoals still doing the job.
Beat up some children.
It did. It was wonderful. I have no regrets. Anyway, this is the sideboard for now. It's going to transition in the near future, but this is where it's at for today. So... the thing I would like to say on this deck is you have to mulligan to Bazaar. That is the part that sucks a little bit. The good news is it can literally be the last card, and that's fine. You don't actually have to have more than Bazaar and 1 Dredger to get there, and you don't necessarily need a Dredger if you're drawing quickly and they don't blow up the Bazaar right away. I have mulligan to 2 and 1 with this deck. It's one of the very few decks where you can mulligan to 2 and just laugh and win anyway, because you're not really...
In a way, it's a 1-card deck.
Yeah. It really is. But we'll see if it can take down Workshops. And Workshops has finally been completely revamped. It has the Stone Brains in the sideboard now. It's got double Pithing Needle in the main, which is really going to be rough in this matchup for me. Because you get that turn 1 Pithing Needle on Bazaar, the game ends, basically. So we have what we call the high-risk, high-reward scenario for Dredge here, and probably the most tuned aggro Workshop list we've yet played. And we're on the play, which is a really good sign for a deck like this, because it needs to win these die rolls.
That's what you need.
Especially as game 2 gets rough. But there's a reason there's 4, what was it, 4 Graph Digger's cages sitting in the sideboard of Workshops, if I remember correctly.
Pretty much every deck in Vintage needs to be dedicating at least 4 sideboard slots to hating on graveyards.
Alright,
You'd be a fool not to.
Right. Let's see if the boogeyman of the format can come out and play. Alright, so we're doing a Serum Powder mulligan. So basically we mulligan and we just draw this many cards.
You exile that, don't you?
Yep, these all go into exile. So we're exiling Bridge, oof.
Oh, I like that.
Grief, Narcomoeba, Stinkweed Imp, and Icarid. This would have been a pretty gross hand if it had a Bazaar instead of a Serum Powder, but here we are. So let's go to the next 7 and see if we get the Bazaar on that one. We do not, so we actually mulligan to 6. And welcome to how Dredge works.
Boy, we better have some conversation topics for today. I think we're going to be doing this a lot.
It does a fair amount of mulliganing. It mulligans probably more than any other deck in this format.
So I'm going to ask if there's anybody in chat that plays Dungeons and Dragons. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I wish I had the time to because it seems fun.
It's a ton of fun.
And I'd like to at some point. But I've been on TikTok, and like all the D&D players on TikTok are losing their shit at Wizards.
Really?
Yeah, like I guess I don't know what they did because I don't know enough about D&D. Are you on 5 now?
Oh, we're on 5. I put this here for where we're at on the mulligan process.
I don't know enough about D&D to like understand what they're talking about. But like they are so goddamn angry. I mean, they're having the kind of conversations that we've been having of like, how do we just like keep playing the game we like, but without giving them money?
Yeah, Hasbro keeps on destroying the products that they own, and it's wild to watch.
I mean, so if anybody like watches or plays D&D and can explain that shit, I'd love to understand the reasoning.
I'm curious myself. I haven't played in a very long time. I played a ton when I was, I want to say, the end of grade school. Oh no, we're going to 4.
Oh baby.
Alright. Sometimes you mulligan.
Are we streaming? I'm not seeing any, like, we've got blank numbers for all these things
no,
at the top.
I turned it all off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we're good. I do that to force myself not to look at the numbers.
Oh.
It's a personal thing, but we can put them on. Not an issue. Oh yeah, we live. Alright, so we're going to 4. We have not seen a Bazaar yet, which is a bit of a statistical anomaly, but we're rocking.
I don't play, but I want to get it at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, Star Trace. It's so much fun. It really is. I actually know a couple people around town, a couple groups around town that play. I haven't talked to them about it, but I'm going to because I'm curious. And it's, I think the hardest thing I've heard about D&D is getting a consistent group because you have to coordinate all the schedules, right?
Right. In a way, it would almost be like setting a band practice.
Yes, very much.
Except that there's never a gig.
Also very true.
Or like it's always a gig, I guess.
Alright, I'm in for this.
Keeping your 4.
Oh yeah.
Alright, let's see it.
Bazaar, draw 2. Discard 3. Pass turn.
Okay, I'm into it.
And so it begins, folks.
Shops, make 3. Foundry Inspector. Mox Ruby. 1 of Amethyst.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Upkeep. Going to draw 2, discard 3. Starting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Creeping Chill. Exiles doesn't cast, so you take 3, I'll gain 3.
Costs another 1.
It doesn't actually cast. It just exiles.
Just put it in your graveyard from your library. You may exile it if you do. Oh, nice.
Yeah, we found out it gets around all of the spheres.
Very nice. 17, okay.
And then next one will be that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Dread Return's not really on the menu anymore, which keeps this very interesting. Let's move to the draw step now. And we'll draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take another 6. And I'll gain another 6 and go to 29. Okay, move to main phase. Bazaar number 2. Let's flop hard. Draw 2. Start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Narcomoeba. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, discard all 3. And this is how I play Dredge because it's basically your hand. Okay, so Narcomoeba hit, which means both prized are coming out. If I remember correctly. Yeah, when it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard. No, because it didn't enter from graveyard. It entered from library. Okay, so they don't come from that. And I can't sack it to Cabal Therapy because Thorn of Amethyst is out.
No, it comes from the graveyard. So
Does it?
When Narcomoeba is put into your graveyard from your library, you may put it onto the battlefield. So it will trigger those.
Okay, so those trigger on end step. And I think that's it for this turn. Go.
Decisions.
And you're already at 11, which helps tremendously. And I'm going to dredge the rest of my deck if these Bazaars don't get turned off.
Well, one of them is.
Alright. One goes bye-bye.
I'll play a Ballista on 2.
That does help on getting rid of Bridge from below that's in the grave. Good to know. Ah, yeah. I love Dredge. It's been so long since I've gotten to play.
See, the question is whether to fucking nuke the bridge now or not.
No, there's still
Can I
one
see the
left.
text on it?
Yeah, there's still one left too in the deck, and it's probably coming out next turn. So that makes it an interesting decision. Now for the chat, it's worth noting I can't cast the Dread Returns because of Thorn of Amethyst. Otherwise, I would be winning next turn pretty much 100% on this Flame-kin Zealot plan.
That's why I kept it.
Yeah.
Alright, carry on. Before we get to main phase, I'll probably be nuking the Ballista, though.
Fair enough. So move to upkeep?
Yep.
Okay, upkeep. Triggers. I believe there's one Icarid. I don't think we got lucky and hit a second one. No. Okay, so one Icarid, and we'll exile a Grief to put Icarid into play.
Let's see. And bridge triggers when your creatures die, correct?
Yes, whenever non-token creatures put into your graveyard from the battlefield.
Alright, carry on.
If a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard, it exiles. Okay, so still on upkeep, we're going to do the Bazaar. We'll start by dredging 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take 3. I'll go up to 32. See those creeping shells putting some work in.
Yeah, the full 12.
Right, so that's going to go to hand, and then we'll grab that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Narcomoeba will hit play, which will trigger these on end step. And then we discard, and then we move to draw step. One sec, I need to do a little county here to make sure I don't destroy, you know what I mean? Like, it's turn 3, but we're almost out of cards. If we had the other Bazaar, we absolutely couldn't use it at this point anyway. So we'll flip 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's the other bridge.
Alright, then.
And now it's decision time.
Yeah, so prior to main phase.
And I have one Golgari Grave-Troll in hand. I'm going to put it right over here. Yeah.
I'm going to remove 1 target Icarid. With that on the stack, remove 1 target Narcomoeba. This will die state-based.
Right.
Exile your bridges, and then those hit the grave.
Absolutely. Bridge goes number 1. Bridge goes number 2. Okay. Swing it all.
Lock an amalgam.
Okay.
Take 4, go to 4.
Okay. Now, on end step, I know these 2 amalgams are going to come into play. Does the third one come into play is the question. It's been a minute.
It's not in the graveyard for its ability to trigger at that time, so I don't believe so.
Except it'll go on your end step because these come into play, which will trigger that one. Because it's back in the grave. So your end step is one.
Hang on.
Yep.
Enters the battlefield if it enters from your graveyard. Step from your graveyard, return. Yeah, you're right.
Alright, so I can't do normally, chat, if there wasn't a Thorn of Amethyst, I would be Cabal Therapying the whole board out right now.
Right.
Instead, we pass to go, this one triggers on. And we've got 1, 2 Icarids to mess with.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got a grip of land.
And that is a turn 4 kill through a Thorn of Amethyst. With Hogaak, Narcomoeba, and Icarid at the bottom still. Nice.
So, Creep and Chill did a lot of work there. 'Cause I don't think that game would have been winnable without Chill.
No, it would have taken too long. But Chill adding another 12 points was huge.
Right. Without the Chill pressure, I could have dropped an Urza Saga.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Now, as far as things of relevance in the sideboard here, what do we have that's relevant here?
I see nothing.
I mean, I don't think Sickening Shoal does enough against you, and I think I want the discard more than I want the shoals, right? Yeah, I think the discard's more relevant. I don't think there's a board plan for workshops because we don't play the Force of Vigors anymore. Petrified Field would come in if we had them in the sideboard.
Shit, what is that? What just dropped? Oh, Chalice? I don't care about that. This is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable.
So there's 7 cards here.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
So Dredge is up on game 1 here.
Metal Cyst does not seem important.
No, it's a bit slow.
Ballista's decent.
Gets rid of bridges.
This is less important.
Yeah.
And I think this is also less important.
Depends on if you need to just explode into worm coils or like play it and like put pressure into one of these. You know what I mean?
That's reasonable. And there's enough other things to take out.
Yeah, I'd say so. The worm coils would be a pretty good game against this. The lifelink's just so critical. It makes me wonder if you want to keep one nettle cyst for the like worm coil equip and really hit hard with lifelink.
You know, I do like it better than keeping exactly one of the
Patchworks.
Yeah.
And it's just a 7 for 7. And now the hate has intensified.
Not really. I mean, like, this is hate. This is just incidentally good here.
The worm coils keep coming in on a lot of matchups. There's not a lot that I don't like worm coils for.
Yeah, I'm starting to question their presence in not the main deck.
Yeah. The question is going to be, what are they better than in the main deck? And part of me wants to just be done with Karn in the main.
Yeah, I'm not super impressed with it either.
Because Karn, I mean, the big reason to play it is that you get Mycosynth Lattice lockouts. That's the biggest reason to play it that I'm aware of, in this deck especially. But it's an aggro deck, so do you need the incidental lockout?
It's also kind of like 2 turns of nothing, and like you just hope it works.
Yeah. I'm also curious if Mystic Forge is correct in a deck that's aggressive, or if you just want Worm Coil.
That's an interesting point as well.
But those,
I mean, that'd be an easy spot to pick up two worm coils, and then that would also buy you 3 sideboard slots because you're no longer going to play the Mycosynth Lattice.
The other piece of it is that Karn can't come off Workshop and Worm Coil can.
There's also that, yes.
And that definitely bothers me about Karn, because your busted Workshop draws just do nothing with it.
Yeah, I mentioned a few different times that I'm interested in like looking at some Eldrazi stuff.
Ooh.
And I like Karn a lot more in the Eldrazi build.
Sure. I mean, Thought-Knot Seer is intriguing for aggro workshops, but I don't know that it's...
Well, the big limitation on this deck is the workshop itself.
Right.
And there's a lot of cards, I mean, like every other land makes multiple mana.
Right.
And you could just swap workshop with the Eldrazi land, and now it's like all the lands make 2 or they're LD.
I mean, the beauty of that is that we're looking at getting rid of sacred cows in the format, right? And that's something very few vintage players do, to my knowledge. Like, the number of decks I've seen that just auto-include the restricted cards without really thinking about it is extremely high, in my opinion. Like, hell, the bug decks just keep putting Sylvan Library in, you know?
Oh, you lose.
With you on the play?
You lose.
Okay.
Shop, that would have me making... And then, like, the next turn I'd do that. Like, who cares?
Game 3, I'll be on the play.
Yep.
The beauty is we can do that. And that's the kind of Dredge we play.
Yep.
In a way, it's nice, because it's just like, oh, alright, next game. The one where I'm on the play, so even if you have the hate cards, I have a shot at getting rid of all of them.
Alright, 1-1.
I feel like this is especially appropriate given how many times we played with Darth Skitham. You did the energy flux turn 1. You're out with workshops. Finally, workshops gets to do that back to somebody. It's about time, right?
Unfortunately, it's me doing it both times.
Oh my god! All right, Dredge.
All right. You will try.
One time, one Bazaar. Ugh, God, this hand was so good if it had a Bazaar. Just turn 1, wreck the hand.
I mean, isn't that like every hand in this, like, oh man, if it had a Bazaar, we'd be in business.
Yeah,
it's like the name of the game.
There's a certain number of them that you look at and you're like, I mean, like, too many of them that are just awkward. You have like a bunch of Creeping Chills and Narcomoebas, and then like a Dredge card and a Bazaar, and you're like, I mean, I'm keeping it. But like, but every so often you get the busted draw where it's like triple or like double grief / double on mat. One of those two where you get 2 of the free discard spells on turn 1 combined with a Bazaar and a Dredge target or 2. And those hands feel filthy. Just absolutely filthy. And you can ask Darth Zero about that, the number of times that he had like, alright, I'm locking you out. And I just went, nope, double Thoughtseize. You basically turn 1 and we get started with our engine.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you get to do it. But this is the high risk, high reward Dredge deck. So let's see if it's gonna take workshops down on a mold of 6 or not. Alright, one time. Come on, my precious. One time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, we are keeping. And
send one back.
We'll send. I'll even show you the old Narcomoeba to the bottom, where it belongs. All right, Bazaar. Let's go ahead and draw a couple, and discard a few. So we will discard Dredge, and that. And then let's do a Grief, exiling a bridge from below. And start this little chain.
Is it facing my way? That's up.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I'm gonna do an unmask and get the other one too.
Alright, you got my hate cards.
Hate cards are out. We're playing Magic now, and there's no wasteland
It
on
was
the horizon.
it was either get them both or I've got you now.
Figured. I saw the confidence of the keep, and
Yep.
I'm like, alright, we're gonna go for it. Go ahead. And that's what I mean by you can have these openers where you're just like, oh my
Strip
god.
it.
No.
Off the top.
Oh,
Go.
beautiful. Beautiful. Alright. Dredge 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And pass. It's so much worse with the engine dead. We got 2 hate cards, but that strip mine off the top.
Mox, Saga. Saga goes to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Put Ballista on 1.
Alright.
Go ahead.
Let's get another thug out. God, that hurt. That hurt so much. I was really tempted. Yeah, I was really. If this was a black card, I would have discarded the other black card instead of the bridge and discarded the bridge so that the grief triggered a 2/2 to at least put some pressure on, but not all of these games go that way. Alright, that's not terrible. Pass again.
Draw me card. On to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
It's gonna be an actual game this time. I can't just go nuts. We had 2 non-games, essentially. It's about time for this.
I'm going to attack you for 1.
19.
And I'm going to play Traxos.
Oh
Go ahead.
Okay.
I remember when I saw this card in Dominaria, I was like, oh man, that's amazing. It finally gets a home in fucking Vintage.
Exile Grief. Get Icarid. Note that this will be coming. Dredge Stinkweed Dump. Alright, we got some more Griefs and Icarids at least. Attack you.
Take 3. 17.
We do not have a Cabal Therapy either. Okay, so we're getting slightly awkward on some of these dredges, but that's okay. And we'll move to your turn.
Okay. So I'll draw.
Oh, that's trip mine.
Saga on the stack. I'll float mana.
I was so sure I had you on the double. I was like, yeah, we got him. We got him. It was not to be.
Grafdigger's Cage.
I'm trying to think if there's a way through that.
That untaps Traxos, even though I just manually untap Traxos.
Fair.
Oh no, wait. It's a... Nope,
Cast.
enters the battle.
Enters the battlefield?
Nope, cast, so it's still tapped.
Okay.
Fortunately for me...
All you do is cast. Historic spells.
Yeah. Here's a Lodestone Golem. Ka-chunk. 8 you.
11.
Go ahead.
Alright. Can't Icarid because Grafdiggers.
Correct.
We will simply 2, 3. Yep, we're not going to get through this. And Dredge falls in the sideboard games.
Alright, shops in 3.
Now, if the strip mine didn't come off the top, I feel pretty good about where we would have been able to get to. But that's how the game plays. There's a lot of hate cards for a reason.
Right, I mean, that's like, similarly, I could say, well, if you only had 1 on mask,
Right.
would have been over right out of the gates.
Either way, workshops proving why we have tuned it up to a monster that it is. Good lord, is that deck hard to get through.
These are the same. Only have so many of the cool ones.
You like these ones better?
Oh, way better.
Okay. I might get one more of those because I think I only have the 3, but pretty sure 4 is the right number of that card. There's
Yes, it is.
so many decks where that does a lot of work. Like, I think that shuts out Cephalid Breakfast combo too, doesn't it? Because they can't Dread Return Thassa's.
Correct.
Wow. Nice. Yeah, I think the last question...
And moving Worm Coils into the main is just going to make this matchup even more in favor of shops.
And free up a lot of sideboard slots, which... I'm curious what sideboard slots we're going to use those for.
I don't know. Like, this is the thing, the more we mess with shops, the more I like shops.
Yeah, we keep on pushing it harder and harder into the aggressive version, and the more aggressive it gets, the more it feels like stacks with pressure. As opposed to, like, I don't know, sometimes you Karn and do things, sometimes you Forge and draw some cards. Like, this version feels like it just hits so much harder with the Traxoses at 4.
Oh, what is this?
Which somewhat begs the question if we want the 3rd Traxos as well. I don't...
Oh, this is Doomsday.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see if I can play it.
Is not an easy deck, yeah. I figured you'd be better with that than Paradoxical, though. Paradoxical is, like, this at least has very linear lines in what it's doing in Paradoxical.
You gotta practice to learn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ah, Noble Murloc subscribed. Thank you, Noble. Appreciate it. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
The cock cage coming in.
Yeah. Oh, man. And if you haven't checked out Noble Murloc at all, I can't remember if you do a bunch of streaming Noble Murloc, but I know you come in hot every single time that the pizza box opens and just brew up a storm. I think you had the Jund sacrifice deck from Sunday that was, oh my, it was so cool. It was so cool. So there were Teething Wormlets. You remember that card from the new set? Okay, so just a 1/1 for a green that grows when you play artifacts.
It starts getting Death Touch and shit with artifacts.
Yeah, it gets a counter once a turn when you play an artifact, and then you also gain a life every time you play an artifact regardless. And once it has a certain number of counters or a certain number of artifacts in play, it gets Death Touch, right? Alright, we're not winning that die roll. Anyway, so he had that with, was it Reinforced Ronin? The one that you basically Hasty Goblin that bounces back. So that plus the Patchwork Automatons. And you can see where this is going in Standard. It was so cool. I really enjoyed watching him wreck people all day with it.
Nice.
Alrighty. And Noble, oh yeah, turn 2 Flesh Gorger. That was the play. We got to watch that happen in one of the, I think it was quarterfinals or semifinals, with the Gold Hound that, it's like a common nobody even pays attention to, the 1/1 with First Strike and Menace that sacks to create a treasure token. So it's turn 1 Gold Hound, turn 2 Flesh Gorger against the Delver deck. And so they play triple Delver and can't win. Because the lifelink and Menace. Ended up trading 2 Delvers for it after refusing to do so for like 3 turns. Oh my god, I loved it. It was so much fun to watch.
The brutality.
Yeah. Alright, Dredge. Let's see if we can do this. We lost the die roll, which is never good against Doomsday. But... well, we got Serum Powder, so we're just exiling to draw.
Anything interesting in here?
Another Serum Powder?
There's a Creep and Chill. So you can only 9 me.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll keep this 7. Yeah.
Okay. Jet. Well, let's see. Now I know what you're doing.
Right.
Definitively.
Now you just go for it if you have it. That's a pretty good way to start, yeah.
Jet. Tarn. Sack the Tarn. Underground Sea.
I feel like I might just get ranched on turn 1 by this deck. Oh my god. I'll get Dark Ritual and Doomsday away.
Dark Ritual, Doomsday.
Do you have any draw in your hand whatsoever? Because if so, you auto-win.
Preordain.
Yep, you win.
So what would I get?
So you're going to have, if I remember correctly on the pile, it's going to be Black Lotus, Thassa's Oracle, double Street Wraith. What's the 5th card? Because you need the Lotus to get Thassa's Oracle and the Preordain. And you need the Street Wraith, and what was the last card? There's something else I'm forgetting. Because you're going to go Black Lotus on top, you Preordain, draw Lotus, cry 2. Okay, maybe you don't have it on that. There's some iteration of this pile I'm forgetting. It's been a minute. It's Doomsday.
Right. So yeah, this made me like, all right, I'm gonna flip through and find out. How many street wraiths are there?
4. So you can get 3, and just go right through them.
It seems like I could just do that, right?
Yeah. The problem is the very last card is Thassa's Oracle, which you don't have the ability to draw into. So let's say you do that pile, and then you do triple Street Wraith into Lotus, but then you're still missing the last one to get Thassa's Oracle. So normally you have an Ancestral still, because that's what draws you.
Wait. This is also Library and Graveyard, so I can get the Ancestral.
Oh, then that's way easier, right?
Because I just skip one of these.
Although you still need one more blue mana. No, because you don't need the preordained then, because you have Ancestral. So you just start with Ancestral, draw 3. You draw these 3. You Street Wraith, grab the last card, and then you Black Lotus Thassa's Oracle.
Wait, so I preordained to get.
No, you're not even going to do that. You're going to put all 5 of these. Oh yeah, you're still. No, you're not. You're fine. Okay, so stack goes like this, like so. Thassa's Oracle's at the base, right? So preordains, draws. You don't need to scry, but you're out of the blue mana. That's the problem.
Correct.
Right. That was the problem.
So maybe it's different. Maybe it's
because you don't have the Moxes either, because you've already used them.
Yeah, the Moxes are already here.
That's the other way to get
Okay, so I can't. I don't think I can win this turn.
No, you're basically giving me 1 turn, and you have to decide what you want to risk.
Well, then I wouldn't Doomsday right here. I would just wait because it's half my life.
That's true.
Right, so I don't play this.
I don't know that you would wait, though, because Creeping Chills are not going to happen on my turn 1. The only thing I can do turn 1 is Unmask and Grief. That's it, because Creeping Chills require things to come off the top, and when I Bazaar turn 1, I'm drawing 2 and discarding.
Oh, this way I get around like all the discard shit?
That's what you're trying to do, is
yeah,
hide
there's
from the
logic
discard.
to that. There's logic to that. Okay.
And you're just hiding the Black Lotus, the Ancestral, and the Thassas. That's it. You're just setting up the pile and hiding.
Okay.
Waiting 1 turn, I blow out your hand, and then you win the game. Right?
Alright, so let's see what happens.
Alright. 1 second. Put those back.
So.
And my turn?
Yep.
Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Draw.
And I'm at
Bazaar.
9.
Draw 2. Discard 3, so I would discard Stinkweed, probably Icarid, and a Prized Amalgam. As a DNT player in Legacy, anytime I can kick a Delver's Eyes, hell yeah. Death and Taxes versus Delver in Legacy is always a matchup. Okay, so we do these 3 as the discards, I believe, and then we are pushing Unmask, exiling a Creeping Chill. And we see what you got, unless you force it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Yep. And then we just pass it back and you win, because there's no way through that. The Cabal Therapy doesn't go off in time.
Right, so I Ancestral, I go 1, 2, 3, there's the Lotus, there's the Street Wraith, draw it, play the Thassa, game over.
Yep. I think this is yet another scenario where the sideboard isn't going to be one of high relevance for me, because the Sickening Chills, the Contagions do nothing, the Ravenous Traps don't do enough, nor does the Leyline, to my knowledge. You don't really need the Grave, and because that Surgical is also kind of meh. Because at best I'm grabbing, I don't know, a mistake you made at best, which I'm not going to assume that mistake is going to be made.
I want those.
Yeah. I think that's the piece that you get for Doomsday, the 4 ley lines, and technically you would get a Tabernacle whether or not you choose to.
I don't like it against that deck.
I like it against conventional Dredge, not against this Dredge. Conventional Dredge, Tabernacle's the shit. But against this build, it's very much not. Yeah, I don't think there is anything else you want in this sideboard. Luckily, your sideboard for this is really simple, because Flusterstorms are bad against me, and get rid of the bad stuff. This is also one of my favorite decks to play Leyline, because you can Dark Ritual it into play. And that's just extremely uncommon. My guess is you keep the Git Probe, but the Flusterstorms and the Duresco, right?
Yep. I just wanted to look at all the weak ones.
Sure. God, yeah, you can just top deck a Leyline Dark Rid it into play, and if it's fast enough, it's fine, you know?
Well, in a way, I've got 5 Rits because of the Lotus. So I can, like, on the draw, top deck it and still turn one it.
Oh, that's filthy. Oh, Dredge. And yet, when I think about going back to like the Force of Wills and the Force of Vigors, I still remain unenthused. If we're going to do the Force of Vigor build, I need so many more green cards in this, which means the sideboard basically has to be 15 green cards. So I'd need 4 Noxious Revival, 4 Force of Vigor, and then I need to find somewhere between 4 to 7 other free green spells that matter. And I don't know any other free green. I mean, I'm sure there are some, right? There's got to be some free green spells. Chat, if you have any knowledge of free green spells that don't require mana to be cast, just exiling other cards, please toss suggestions in, because I'm very, very curious if there's something else I could be doing on the sideboard to make Force of Vigor work post board. I feel like that might be necessary for the Force of Vigor. I don't want it to be. I don't think Force of Will is. I'll be clear on that point. I really disagree with Force of Will fundamentally in this deck, but
I'm gonna mulligan.
Force of Vigor might be right. It just gotta find out.
Ley lines make the mulligans so much more tempting too. So I'm like, I would have mulliganed anyway, but I'm like, oh wait, there's ley lines in here, so like it's just kind of like a whatever hand. I can just toss it.
And if I'm gonna win this, I need 2 of those. I need this next 2 post-board games to have 0 ley lines in turn 0. That seems so daunting. Okay, so maybe Force of Vigor is just necessary because of this conundrum, where there's just no way around it, right?
Maybe.
We do have Shambling Shells for green cards in here too, so that helps a little bit. And 1 Golgari Grave-Troll, I guess.
Ooh, this is interesting. This is really interesting.
Ah, Dredge, you're so good in a vacuum, but everybody knows how much of a problem you are. When you're the known problem child, it's... yeah. I think we technically keep this, yeah.
Okay, how many moles are you?
This is 0 moles.
Wow.
We just natural drew a Bazaar for the first time.
Alright, carry on.
Draw 2. Discard Imp, and Shambling. Pass.
Okay. Land drop. Black Lotus. Black mana.
Retro.
Doomsday.
Retro. It's not what you want to see on turn 1.
I'm at 10.
Are we just going to get turn 1 twice? I guess it was technically turn 2 for you last game.
So I would get this. I'm just going to try and win next turn. Maybe I can win right now. I don't think so, though.
Depends on what you have in hand. The Street Wraith, the Lotus. It's all coming together, boys. Like, the hardest part about Doomsday is you can protect your combo, you know?
Just putting it in the library?
Right. It's basically untouchable unless I wanted to play Archive Traps in the sideboard, which I don't. And even then, for those who are unaware, Gaia's Blessing is in Doomsday sideboards now because of Archive Trap.
Oh, there was a 4th Fluster we didn't take out.
Well, here, put the... I think the Duress is still stronger than that.
Marginally.
Or the Tabernacle.
Almost Shieldred.
Sure.
I don't think Tabernacle does fuck all in this matchup, really.
It stalls a turn here and there. It can buy you a turn. It's kind of like a time walk against this deck unless I get the Dread return I need in time.
Where's the shit I'm looking for? Okay, there's the Ancestral. We need Thassa. Okie dokie. So, if I can draw 1 card, I don't think it's enough though. So, I am going to be passing.
Alright.
I just need to determine my order.
Sure.
I think I've got it.
Alrighty.
Carry on.
Okay. Bazaar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Discard 1, 2, 3. Move to draw step.
Move to draw.
Gonna need to get a little lucky here. If I can hit triple Narcomoeba and one more bridge, we have the game. So, 1, ooh, 2, okay. We need triple Narcomoeba, 0 Narcomoeba, 0 Narcomoeba. Shit.
Got the counter anyway.
Oh yeah, I would have gone for the Cabal Therapies first, just to wipe the hand out. But yeah, that's... Alright, so we have these in hand. We don't have the Narcomoebas to hit the Cabal Therapies. And... yeah, I don't think there's anything else that can be done because we don't have anything to reanimate until next turn, so you win turn 2.
Cool.
And the Ballad of Dredge continues, baby.
We doing all 3 games, or we're just doing a match?
Match is fine. I think we have a pretty good idea of how this plays out. I was really curious if it was going to be... plus, there's decent odds that you just mulligan see a ley line or open with a ley line, and that's the game right there anyway.
Oh yeah, that's right. I put the Shieldred in there.
But, do you have to reveal the 5 cards you pick for Doomsday? No. No, I don't believe you reveal them at all. That said, you do have to show what's in exile, so typically decent players can deduce exactly what the hell is in your stack. Because Doomsday doesn't vary more than 5 cards.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky thing if you're actually playing a real event, though.
Right.
Because a judge is not going to let you just spend 10 minutes looking at the shit.
Probably not, no.
Like, if I was playing this in a tournament, and I did my Doomsday, and my opponent goes, hey, I want to look at that, I'd immediately call the judge. Like, immediately, and I'd start timing them. Because it's going to take the judge a minute to get over.
Sure.
And just, like, if they're still looking at it, then I'll be like, hey, they've been looking at my exile pile for, I don't know, 2 minutes. We need to move the game forward, and I want you to watch for slow play.
Sure.
I mean, if this is a real event. If it's not a real event, I don't give a shit. But, like, if this is a real event, that's the approach I think you've got to take.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're just going to sit there for 5 minutes between every decision, flipping through your entire exile pile.
Yeah, I mean, if they're a very decent player, what they should be able to do is look at the exile pile, and, I mean, you're still going to have a hand, and you're going to have something there, and they should be able to write out a list of about 5 to 10 cards in a likely list and move on. And that shouldn't take more than 2 minutes, frankly.
Conversely, on the flip side, if I'm on the other end of this,
yeah,
and I'm looking through the pile and someone's calling the judge over, my argument to them is going to be, look, we're playing best out of 3, we've got 50 minutes, he just cast Doomsday, the game is ending in the next turn or 2.
Right.
The decisions made in that time are relevant, and we are going to have time almost certainly to finish the match.
Right.
Given how important the next turn or 2 is, I think I need at least, 2 minutes to be able to look through here and gauge some idea for what could be last and what there is for me to deal with.
Right.
And if they say no, keep playing, then you can be like, I'm appealing it to the head judge. And while they go get the head judge, you keep looking.
Right, you still get an extra minute right there alone. Depending on how big the tournament hall is, but if it's a real event, it's probably pretty big.
Right.
At least GPs back in the day were large.
Alright, so we're done with this. What's this one now?
Blazing Oath.
No, it doesn't have my cool art.
No, it doesn't have the cool art. But it does have a Blazing Oath. And for those who haven't seen the recent vintage results, Oath is on a huge upswing right now. We managed, I should say you mostly, managed to call this about 3 months ahead of time with Mono White Initiative coming into play and Oath of Druids being a really strong answer to Initiative in general because they have to win through creatures and you just dump a Sarah's Emissary and every time you swing they lose the initiative if I remember correctly. I haven't even read this shit. I'm gonna be honest with you, chat. I bought like 12 of these just so I could
combat damage, perfect, so it just shuts it off.
Yeah, you just swing over for 7 and shut it off. And beginning of your upkeep, you get to venture in a dungeon, but they'll swing back. Well, no, they won't. It won't matter because they can't deal combat damage as long as you have Sarah's Emissary.
Correct.
So you just shut off and you gain the initiative.
Yep.
Which means you get the Undercity.
Yep. You continue going through.
I should probably look at what Undercity. Holy shit, this is good. Oh my god, it's so much value. Oh wizards, you silly commander lovers. What have you done? I had this discussion with a few people in the EDH community, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Commander, But I love and hate that Commander cards get printed and they get banned in Commander and Vintage just gets stuck with them. And like Legacy and Vintage just have to deal with Hull Breacher, even though it's not even in anymore for Commander, and it was printed for Commander. And it cracks me up every time. Like you snuck one by everybody just by making Commander a bigger deal.
So I would keep this hand. I don't think it's spectacular in the matchup, but theoretically I don't know the matchup.
Right.
My guess is this is probably a really rough matchup for Blazing Oath.
Bright side, you'll get the play. Downside, yeah, I would envision this to be not an easy matchup. I mean, we're keeping this, but I'm not thrilled about it.
Okay. All right. Step one. Land.
Yep.
Nox. Black Lotus.
Well, that's a.
It could be worse.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It could be worse.
That's a bit.
Jace.
That's a bit. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Brainstorm. There's my 3. Put back 2. These 2, I suppose. Yep, those 2. Carry on.
Let's do Unmask, Exile, and Creeping Chill.
You get that. The rest is land.
Oh, hell no. Besage you. Oh, God. Bazaar. Still gotta do it.
Yeah, you do.
Draw 2. Discard. And there's no way to get rid of that out of your hand. Oh,
nope.
That's so brutal. Yeah. It's gonna be Bridge, Icarid out.
Ooh. My.
And we pass.
You get to be a bit more bold with bridges in this matchup.
Yeah.
What's Jace?
I guess, to be fair, your deck has a really good shot at going Oath and winning the game, because Sarah's Emissary doesn't stop Creeping Chills, but once you account for Creeping Chills, there's no way for me to win. You just have to stay above 12, right?
Correct.
Or at this point, 9. Interesting.
Goodbye. Carry on. You know I have a Forbidden Orchard in hand. 2 more cards.
Pass.
Play, well, we'll Jace first. Always Jace first. Put this back, put this back.
And this build is so glass cannon, and it is showing
Orchard.
hardcore right now.
Yeah, it sure is. Here's Oko.
Oko Noko.
Oko summons Meatwad.
Meatwad stares at me.
What's up, guys?
So we kept a hand with Bazaar, but no Dredgers to see what it would feel like. And the answer is if they blow up Bazaar really bad.
That's the problem. Go ahead. This deck has a lot of ways to blow that up, too. That's sort of the angle of attack I built into it.
Go ahead.
Okay, draw for turn.
In a way, it's
Jace.
like you time-walked me 4 turns at least. Which is real bad when you turn one at Chase.
Yeah, fortunately for you, this deck is pretty slow.
Yeah, there is that.
Alright, let's use this blue mana here to preordain. They're going to go bottom.
Ah, Lord Skithem, we do love Meatwad.
Good old Meatwad.
I'm so happy that's our food token. There are many kinds of food, but there is only one Meatwad.
Volcanic Island. Bring this bad boy up. And Meatwad is now combat ready.
And there are elks en route.
Get in there.
17.
Eat wad, my meat wad. Go.
Go.
Draw for turn. Jace.
Oh my.
Put back 2.
I really need to look into free green spells.
Orchard.
Force of Vigor and Noxious Revival are just too good to ignore, it seems.
Say what?
Force of Vigor and Noxious Revival are a little too good to
They
ignore.
might be. They might be. I think I've got you here. 'Cause I'm gonna play the oath.
Sure.
I'm gonna bust meat wad and give you a thing.
How are you busting?
It's a food.
Isn't it an elk now?
Oh, true. It is an elk. Never mind. Give you 2 things.
I was like, yeah, we'll just
That's
do that,
the
right?
solution as well.
We have the appropriate your spirit tokens, right? I did it right this time. 1/1
Yeah.
colorless spirit. We did it. The flip side is not so, but
I guess I could use Jace to bounce it, but no need.
True.
Probably.
True.
Well, no, because theoretically,
I don't believe there's an out for me here.
no, because like if you got a couple of Cabal therapies, you could sack them. So I am going to use Jace to bounce it.
To sack. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Although on upkeep, you can do that in response to the trigger and put 2 more in play, right?
Yeah, good point. But whatever, I did it.
Yeah.
I'll make fucking food.
Meat wad.
It's the bear meat wad is back.
Done.
Carry on.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. All right, game 2. And yet again, I don't think there is much for this matchup that we want. We're set up for very specific matchups in this sideboard. It's gonna change. It's gonna change. It's gonna have to be Force of Vigors, Noxious Revivals, and some other stuff.
Alright, so...
And actually, I'm gonna throw those into the sideboard because I have those. I don't have the rest, but I have those at least.
I know why I chose what I chose. So this is easy to do. Veil of Summers for the discard.
Nice. Nice. See if I can find, real quick, the missing Noxious Revivals. I know they're around. Just got to find them, right? And there's 3 of them. Oh, Endurance. That's a free. You can just throw 4 of those in there too.
Actually, no, we keep Oko. We board out Time Walk here.
Time Walk, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Extra turn doesn't do anything. I either have it or I don't.
It's a fair point.
So it's just a rampant growth.
Fair. Fair. Let's see.
Yeah, Mental Misstep. I don't care what's in your hand. Minsk and Boo. That is not how I'm going to win this game anyway. Narset, not important here.
You know, the sad thing about this deck is I am 100% certain that if it could play 7 Noxious Revival and 8 Force of Vigors, it would. As the sideboard plan. But in the interim, I know which slots are going out of this. Because if we're going all the way into green, Endurance becomes a much bigger deal, and we don't need these anymore. We just use Endurance. And that way we have things to pitch to Force of Vigors as well. It's gonna be like a 15 green card sideboard. I just gotta find the last few cards that matter. But for now, I know these are not going to be relevant. So, we move them out.
Okay.
Now, against Oath, we probably want at least that. Which means we need to find out what we don't want. I don't think we need as many Dread Returns in this matchup. Or maybe it's the Creeping Chills we also don't
Will I
need.
keep this on the draw? No, I would not.
We can lose a Flame-kin Zealot. We can lose 2 Dread Returns. And we can lose 4 Creeping Chills. And that still leaves us with, I think, enough cards of relevance. Now we can fit in the Noxious Revivals and the Force of Vigors. Not as elegant as it needs to be, and I need to do some more thinking about how the sideboard needs to look, but...
I love how in classic form we're like halfway through the decks we're trying, you're already like, changing the deck, changing the deck.
Well, I'm just seeing the same pattern play out over and over again, and that means that something has to change, or else this is going to be the shortest like Sedative 4 ever. I mean, it's not even 7 o'clock yet. We're already through games, 2 matches and almost 3.
To be fair, Doomsday was part of it.
Yeah, Doomsday winning turn 2 both times was pretty rough. But that's what Doomsday does, right?
I'd try it.
Man, aggro workshops though, that has really been getting better. And
Yeah.
with the Stone Brains on the sideboard, I would be kind of terrified to play Doomsday or most combo decks against it. Between all the Spheres of Resistance and then the Stone Brains and the Trinus, like that is so much shit to get through.
Powerful. It's powerful.
And with the Stone Brains, it makes me think we don't need the Eldrazi. The workshop builds better.
No, the Eldrazi at this point for me is like, it's a different deck.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a different deck.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, I will keep this.
Okay.
Ready to rock? Bazaar. Discard 1, 2, 3, and pass.
Preordained.
Mm-hmm.
Both down.
Okay.
Draw a card. I am shipping it back to you.
Upkeep. Imp. Troll. Narcomoeba. Discard 1, 2. Do 3. These are both primed to trigger.
Primed to trigger. Draw step.
Draw step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Narcomoeba.
So with second Narcomoeba on ability on the stack, I'm gonna nuke your graveyard.
Okay. Pass.
Fetch.
Those ravenous traps, baby.
They're not bad.
Not bad at all. Putting some work in. What is happening? Oh, hey, Solid. Good to see you. Good to see you.
What's up?
Alright, so essentially, Skidlam, what happens here is we get to the point where the second Narcomoeba is triggering, saying it's gonna go. When it's put in the graveyard from battlefield, you may put its graveyard from your library, you may put it on the battlefield. For when this is on the stack, Ravenous Trap comes for free because I've milled so many cards that it comes for free after the third one, is it?
If the opponent had 3 or more cards put into their graveyard from anywhere, you can pay 0 instead of paying its mana cost, and this exiles all the cards in the graveyard.
So then all of this,
Yeah.
everything we've done, everything we've worked for, our life's journey, gone in an
And then
instant.
spit in your eye. Go ahead.
Bazaar. Let's go ahead and draw a couple and discard a few. So we're going to discard 1, 2, tray. Right. Do we have a chance of pushing through? There's how many Narcomoebas here? Okay, so we don't have a chance of pushing through that way, and Oath is going to go into Sarah Emissary, and then we lose. So I think we have to keep this in hand, and we have to draw naturally and hope to hit Force of Vigor to blow up the Oath of Druids. No, we can just do Cabal Therapy. Sorry. We'll discard there. Then we'll do a little Grave-Trolling. 1, 2. Oh, we would have gotten it off the top, son of a bitch. 3, 4, 5, 6. It feels like that kind of a day, huh? Alright, hit you for 1.
Well, hang on. When you go to leave your draw step, I'm nuking your graveyard again. I'll take the 1. 18.
Okay, 2 Ravenous Traps and an Oath is more than I can do. Because there's no way around.
I have a force as well.
Of course you do. Alright. 0 for 3 here with Dredge. Learning lessons the hard way.
It was worth trying the deck. I mean,
We had to know if the hate was going to be enough, and so far it has been. We've got one more up on the docket here. I don't know.
Oh wait, there's no Ravage Trap in there somewhere.
Like, I see how this deck morphed into Force of Vigors and Noxious Revivals and Force of Wills, and at the same time, I cannot imagine it is consistent enough to utilize all of those correctly, you know? Like, think about that hand right there. We brought in all the stuff we needed to deal with. It didn't even matter. It wasn't in the opener, and the opener has to include a Bazaar.
Yeah, but you also, like, retooled that deck in the direction of black.
Right. But not substantial. The only thing that changes are like 7-ish slots, so it changes that Force of Will's not in the main, it changes that there's no Force of Vigor or Noxious Revivals in the main. I don't know. Perhaps we overcorrected thinking we could go nuts with the combo, and the answer was Flame-kin Zealot's just not the right way to go.
Could be.
Could be. Could be.
Alright, what's the last one here?
The old Grixis Tinker. Good old Tinker time.
I love it. I love it.
That second Ravenous Trap was like, it's fine, we'll Cabal Therapy, we'll push through, it won't be an issue.
You won't.
Like, even if it doesn't resolve, doesn't matter, we just keep going. Mostly I was sitting back trying to figure out what I was going to Cabal Therapy, and then you solved the question, which made it really simple.
Goddamn nothing.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's weird, but like the Bazaar deck, the way it's structured, still almost feels like if you don't have Grief or Unmask in your opener with the Bazaar, you're like behind a turn, and then you're just praying they don't wasteland the shit out of you. So I'm beginning to see why Hogaak Vine has taken over in popularity for Bazaar decks, because
more angles.
It doesn't need Bazaar to absolutely win, it just goes nuts with Bazaar. Whereas this is like, if we don't have Bazaar, uh-oh. We sure aren't playing Magic anymore.
Yeah, one wasteland should not be so effective against a vintage deck.
Yeah. That said, if I was going to pick a deck to run Hot as the Sun with, this would be that deck. You know what I mean? Alright, got the die roll. It's a good start.
But is it enough?
Well, we're about to find out if we're going to draw Bazaar. How bizarre. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. We keep this. Alright, let's do it. You good? Bazaar. Discard. Un. Dun. Trois. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Oh, where to begin?
See what I mean by this? Feels kind of like I time walked myself because I didn't have a discard interaction.
Yeah. Alright, well that's blue mana. Gonna use the first of it on that. It's like I drew the fucking restricted list.
3 of 9 power 9 on turn 1.
No, I've got more.
Nice.
Just trying to make some more decisions here.
So you just got 2 blue floating. Okay. Toss those bad boys right there for the chat to look at. 2 blue floating.
What do I do?
How shall I win? Is it the turn 1 Tinker? Like, bam.
So much action here.
Tinker can go nuts, that's for sure.
I don't think Tinker can just beat that deck straight up, though. Like, tinkering for something.
You can Time Vault turn 1 and end it with Tinker on the back of Bullet Citadel.
You mean on the back of the untappy thing?
Well, yeah, but you can Bullet Citadel to basically draw most of your deck if you're not unlucky. You just have to hit a Sensei's and then you go nuts, basically. And you just keep rolling.
Decisions.
Talk about decisions, collisions.
I think... we use the white mana for that.
Alrighty. Seems apt. I don't think there are white spells in Grixis Tinker. It's basically colorless.
Alright, we'll cast it and do it.
Alright. Top to top to top, top.
So much to think about so quickly.
Yeah. Grixis Tinker, still one of my favorite decks. This and Paradoxical Outcome are probably my favorite Tinker builds. I'm not sure which one's stronger. I know Paradoxical has got a ton of angles to it. This I somewhat like in a way because it's simplified. You know, whereas Paradoxical, you are really trying to think through the whole combo as you're moving like a million pieces across the board. This is just get to time vault, win the game kind of vibes, you know?
Here's my land.
The old saga.
Twister.
Holy shit. Yeah. Scoop them up, shuffle them in.
Yep.
Here we go again. I hope I get my second Bazaar.
I don't know if that's the right call, but I can do it, so I'm gonna.
All the restricted list turn one. I love it. Just getting going.
This deck is so wild.
Uh-huh.
It's like the high power, like old school, weird ass cards deck.
It feels. I'm happy it has Urza's Saga because it feels like an Urza block kind of vibe,
Right.
With power in it.
Like fucking crazy cards from the 90s. Let's see. Do we exile this?
I have no idea.
Nope.
Wow. Time Twister, Time Twister. So good.
Okay. Now what can I do?
Oh my god.
But wait, there's more.
Still turn one over there.
Still turn one. Mox Emerald.
Alright.
Mana Vault.
Okay.
Make 3, top.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
More restricted cards.
I will probably leave that alone. Let's see, 2 mana left. There's one of it. And the last one. Go ahead.
Wow, that feels good. Alright, upkeep. Draw 2. Let's
So crazy.
discard 1, 2, and 3. Let's move to draw step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Main phase. Well, let's do an unmask, exiling a Shambling Shell, and go for it. Okay, well, Brainstorm. Yeah, definitely Brainstorm. Bazaar. Let's get cracking. Stinky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I saw a Creeping Chill.
Yep, Creeping Chill. 0 Narcomoeba still.
17.
Little irksome. Was hoping to see at least one there. We'll dump out a prized amalgam. Really need Narcomoeba. That's a little awkward. Like with Narcomoeba, we just get going with these bridges and Cabal therapies.
And yet.
And yet, pass. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jesus. 8 mana plus 2. 10 mana. You have 10 mana on turn 2.
Yeah, it's just a little.
It's just a little.
Let's see. Wait, I already drew. So first I'm going to Polluted Delta.
Okay. Padelta.
Yeah, get that one.
The worst part is I think there's still a Pithing Needle in the main of that. Which means
There really ought to be.
Which means Urza's Saga can just shut down the Bazaars. So
I don't just find it.
Right, right. Also a problem.
So I got a fresh shuffle, and now I'm going to get to top.
I think my biggest question with Grixis Tinker is whether it needs the Fluster Storms.
This is interesting. This is very interesting.
Oh me, oh my.
Put it back like that. We're gonna do a switchy swap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 3 mana, 2 mana, 5 mana,
Okay.
6, 7, 8, 9. So there'll be 5 floating when I paradoxical all these back to my hand.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll draw 5.
Okay, so 5 colorless mana floating.
Let's see, I already made my land drop, didn't I?
Still turn 2, chat, in case you're wondering. Oh my.
Use a mana.
Yep.
Use a mana.
I think I just need Force of Vigor in the main.
Use a mana.
Too many matches.
Use a mana.
Alright, 1 mana floating, and plenty of things to do.
Let's top with it.
Okay. Mana's no longer floating.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Put it back like so.
Got like 8 cards in hand?
Nope, just 7.
Just 7. Oh my god.
I think that's all I got for right now, though.
Okay.
So carry on.
Upkeep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Discard. 1, 2, 3. Upkeep still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Creeping Chill you. Go 26.
13.
Discard 1, 2, 3. Move to draw step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yep. Let me take a look through this giant stack. So we've got 3 prized that are sitting and looking at everything. 2 prized? Looks like 2 prized. Okay. We have how many bridge from belows? Let's find that out. We've got the Dread returns. We've got a bridge. We've got a Cabal. We've got a bridge. We've got a Cabal. We got another Dread return, because why not? And another bridge, and another Cabal. And another Cabal. Okay. So with bridge, 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 4 Cabals, and Dread return, Dread return, Dread return, we can go kind of nuts. There's a Flame-kin here.
You got it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to Dread return here for the Flame-kin. Even if it gets countered, we just do it again because there's
nope, don't have the counter.
obvious.
There's a whole lot of jacking around, but didn't really do anything.
That's why I wonder about the Fluster Storms.
Yeah, the Fluster Storms suck.
They just kind of sit there and prevent, but I feel like this is a deck that wants to do more and faster.
I don't think this is the kind of deck that wants those in the main.
Yeah.
Like, I want to find the action in this deck. I want to find the broken shit. I don't want to, like, sit around reactively. You play Force of Will because fuck yeah, but...
Yeah.
How many are in here? Just 2?
Probably.
Could be worse. Alright, what's in the board? I want that. Oh, those are good.
Dump out a couple Dread returns, and we can dump out...
Alpine Moon, sure.
Again, I think it's going to be Dread returns and Creeping Chills that we don't need as much.
Okie dokie, I'm looking at 6 cards here.
We shall see.
Time Walk, I don't think is what's going to do it. I don't care about Opposition Agents. Oh, I don't care about Hull Breacher either. We get there? Oh, I like fucking Time Walk more than I like either of those.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead slots against me, aren't there?
He's not dead. He can get into combat.
Oh, Hull Breachers are great against me.
You're not drawing cards.
Oh, right, because I can replace the effect, and then
Right.
Hull Breacher does nothing.
Does nothing.
Ugh.
So yeah, it's a 3/2.
Okay, not good enough then. Luckily, what is it, 6 for 6?
Yep. Yep. Some good stuff coming in too.
Nice. Alright. That was like the most impressive and least impressive turn 1 and 2 I've seen from that Tinker deck. I was like, oh my god, we're so dead, but like, let's make them have it.
Dude, that's pretty common with these Tinker decks, is they'll like do all this stuff and then blow a lot of ranch all over their knuckles and then just be like, oh, I'm done.
I do like that more about the paradoxical outcome decks. They tend to win at a higher rate.
Yeah, that's more like spraying ranch on everything all the time.
Oh man. Oh, Dredge. I guess that was a turn 3 win on Dredge.
Yeah.
It's sad that that felt so slow, but it did feel so slow. Like turn 3 feels slow for Dredge.
I don't know about the one paradoxical in here either. I mean, it worked fine in exactly that kind of scenario.
Right.
There's so many times where that's just not going to do shit.
Tinker, Grixis Tinker in particular, I'm not sure it understands what it wants to do as an identity, and there's a lot of these vintage decks that I look at what they're trying to do, and it's like they dilute their power level to try to somewhat stop what the opponent's doing without really considering that that's not the best plan.
This hand sucks, but I'll keep it.
Okay. I do have Force of Vigors now, so we're not just dead. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, this is an easy Serum Powder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and no Bazaar either. So, down to 6 we go. Precious. We can mulligan for the next 50 minutes. End with a draw. The real strategy. 1-0 every round.
Mull forever.
Yeah, just mull forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, right, 7, and then we'll look and see what needs to go down, if anything. Can't. Down to 5, Precious. Down to 5. And I think if it dips below 3, it's an automatic loss because I can't have Bazaar and Force at that point, which is kind of an auto loss in this scenario. So we've got a couple of hands to try to find it, and hope that you don't have solutions to my solutions too, which is also a difficult scenario. I think the ideal 5 is going to be like a Grief, a Force, and a Bazaar, and we have to top deck a couple of Dredgers. And you're seeing how the odds are already just stacking up against me. And I'm seeing why Leyline's such a problem.
It's a big problem.
The worst part is like Hogaak Vine just giggles at that card. There's like, don't care. Anyway.
It matters. It's just not a big deal.
Right. We're going to 4. No Bazaars yet. Alright. Alright, deck. I want my ideal 4. Did y'all feel me?
Feels like this deck needs everyone to be drunk.
But if everyone is, then it still needs everybody to forget the hate cards in their side.
Right.
I feel like this deck's amazing if people are like, you know what, the graveyards just don't matter today. Like, Dredge is dead and let's move on.
That's kind of the story of Dredge. Yeah. Everyone has to forget that it exists.
Or you have to run Hot as the Sun, which I did for a regional, and boy was that fun. Alright, if we're going down to 4... no Bazaar. Going to 3. Alright, this is it. If it's not this, it's an auto scoop move to next game, because we straight up can't do it. Alright. Let me never be accused of stacking a deck. I mulligan like crazy. Alright, chat, let's see if we can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we gotta go to 3. Okay. We'll keep it. I'm on the draw?
Yep. Jet go.
You have how many cards? Way too many? Infinite?
I have 5.
Okay. I will say go and on upkeep.
End step.
Oh, go ahead.
Vampiric Tutor.
Okay.
Zealots on top. But upkeep.
Upkeep. Force of Vigor.
They're gone. Draw for turn.
Yep.
Bazaar of Baghdad, go.
We went too soon, didn't we?
I baited that.
Yeah, we can't win this. I was like, you know, it's... Why do we wait for him to have blue mana to be able to, like, hit it with any kind of counters on flusters, etc.? Like, let's just get it done on upkeep, and then there's no mana, we're fine. But Vampiric Tutor, yeah, probably should have seen the Fiving Needle coming on.
I already had it. I
tutored
tutored for the land.
Nice.
That's what I'm saying, I baited you into it.
So we probably should have waited till end step and then hit the ley line and the needle.
I wouldn't have played the needle.
But at least gives me one turn to hit the Bazaar and get it going.
Yeah, you get one.
And one may or may not have been enough that at least starts the process towards being able to... I mean, I wouldn't be able to speed demon it, but I'd at least get the Dredge engine started. Granted, I had no Dredgers in hand, so it would have been like, draw 2, fucking pray, here we go.
Fucking better be.
But Force of Vigor felt like we actually had a shot at staying in that matchup, so I'm already seeing the reason we just have to embrace our evil overlords on it.
Alright, I'm keeping the sand.
I have this bad feeling that the Dredge I tried to walk away from is going to be the Dredge that's like the most viable, and yet at that point, why not just play Hogaak Vine? Because it's probably just stronger.
A lot of angles of attack in that one.
Right. Skitham, that was fast. I'm not known for being slow, Skitham.
We finish quickly around here.
Like gentlemen. Okay. Can I even keep this? God, I really can't. It's so close. We'll Serum Powder it out, but it's a force and a Noxious, so we had... And 2 bridges. Yeah, I figured Leyline's coming either way. So now we have to mulligan this because there's still no Bazaar backed out. We are not running hot on getting Bazaars in our openers here. We've had it once in 9 games. That is not great. Not great. Let's see if we can do it, though. Let's get a little magic here, chat. We're going to 6. And since we saw that game 2, we absolutely have to mulligan as if we expected game 3. Oh, me oh my. Still no Bazaar. Go to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still no Bazaar. Go to 4. Yeah. Don't think this one's gonna work out so hot either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still nothing. Go to 3. Alright. Going to 3. Need to hit the exact right 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, we're keeping. And we gotta go to 3, so it's 1, 2, 3. I think. Probably these 3. Pass.
Okie dokie. I'm just gonna start fetching for a land, but I have nothing to do with it. Go ahead.
Pass.
Where are you? There you are. Okay, turn 2, draw a card.
It has been a beating and a half today. Ley lines have been hitting, Ravenous Traps have been hitting, Grafticus Cages have been hitting.
Bizarre.
It's like we played so many of these games, and
I'm just gonna tutor right now. Go ahead.
like we prepped so hard to deal with the menace, and then we dealt with it, and oh boy. Pass.
Dang.
I think regardless, I'm probably off this idea for Gentleman's Cube on this basis alone. It's too many non-games, you know what I mean? Like, I want to actually play Magic.
I'm going to Demonic and then Polluted.
Okay.
So I'm at 17 and I've got... what am I getting? Oh, I remember now. Let's see.
Damn it, now I have to, like, learn a deck and, like, really get after it and tune it up. Can't just float on by with some Dredge, you know? For those who chose Aggro Workshops and Hogaak Vine, you probably chose correctly for the Gentleman's Cube because, like, that Aggro Workshops list just keeps getting better, and Hogaak Vine looks like it's really well positioned.
Alright, that's my turn.
Go.
I win.
Yeah. It's like, we can Grief, but mostly I'm saving that for if I draw the Force of Vigor, so I can Grief, then go Force of Vigor, then do Bazaar, and get going, and that was the plan, but we never saw the Force of Vigor. And we were 3 turns away, yeah. Yeah, too many non-bows. Too many non-bow games. Alright. This ain't the deck.
God, I would change so much about this. There's a lot of cool shit going on here, though.
Well, let's break it apart, because Grixis Tinker is definitely on the list of things. We've got another 30 minutes. So let's mess with some Tinker for a moment, because I think Tinker is really well positioned in a lot of ways.
Tinker's amazing.
It just needs to
I think Grixis Tinker is probably the way I most likely would want to do it.
I wouldn't do Esper Tinker for the simple reason that at that point you're just playing a bad Paradoxical deck. The Esper Paradoxical is the best Paradoxical list I've ever seen, and I'd rather go that route if I'm going to go into white, because you get Monastery Mentor and you really go after it, you know? Whereas Tinker and red, you get the Pyroblast that you're looking for, you get the Dak Fade. There's a lot to offer.
Yeah, red's got a lot of cool shit.
Yeah. Shoop.
Okay.
I'll start sorting this.
Here's our...
Start with the
You put in 7 cards?
Did
I just side out one too many?
You might have sided out one too many. I knew it was rigged.
No, there's another sideboard card somewhere in there.
Okay.
Probably a needle.
Oh, almost certainly then. Yeah, I think the needle was one of the...
There's a needle here, but...
Alright.
Or was there like another Hole Breacher or something on the board? Like another Flusterstorm, maybe?
I don't know. We'll have to sort it.
That'd be my guess.
Okay. Mana base for you. And then all the Moxies. And then the rest of the free mana. Or close to free mana. Good old Tinker.
Alright. Fetches. Okay.
Counters. Some cantrips. The broken ass 3-drops. Viva La Tutors. Some forces. Combo pieces. Forces. Tinker. Hole Breachers. Sets. Dak Faden. Paradoxical, and however you want to sort some of these. I guess tutors can go over here. Unless you want to do
more
this by...
busted cards.
Yeah.
And...
Cantrips
okay.
right here.
And then...
Counters over here.
Random stuff.
Tinker and targets.
This is a cantrip. No, it's not. That's counter.
Yeah, counter, and then just draw engines and stuff.
Okay, so the mana seems fine. That's not where I would start, but let's start by getting rid of those.
Yeah.
Getting rid of those.
Okay. So we're already up to about 4 slots. We're a little heavy on the 3-drops with the opposition. Like, we have a lot of 3-drops.
I don't believe in this. What is this getting?
Search for instant
Oh,
or
this
sorcery.
one.
Oh, so this is for ancestral. Typically, occasionally a force of will. and a dig through time and a paradoxical, so we can get those. Basically 4 targets. I'm not sure I like any of it.
I'm actually not into these either, though.
Okay.
I don't like those. I don't like this.
That one I'm a
Yeah,
little...
maybe because it gets Tinker.
That's my
Right.
biggest reason for that, is it's another Tinker tutor, which the deck revolves around. And this is its own little combo, so I'm just going to put it right there, because that's draw a fuckload of cards.
Right, we keep that. But I think these go.
Okay.
I'm not sure about one of these in the main either. That seems like a sideboard card in the main deck.
Okay.
Hull Breacher is reasonable enough, and it pitches to 4, so I'm okay with it.
Sure. I like the cantrips where they are, and I actually like the tutors where they are.
Yep, that's all fine by me.
Broken cards are broken cards.
Yep,
These
and
are great.
the draw 7s pair up really well with the Hull Breachers.
We've got our Tinker plans, and we've got our counters.
I'm into all this stuff. All this stuff I'm into.
So then we've got 8 slots. That's a lot of slots to
Actually, the
mess
Dak Faden's a question mark to me.
with. Okay.
I mean, maybe we play it, maybe we don't. It's damn good.
Just gonna shop. Everybody!
Alright, there should be one of those in the main.
Sure.
I kind of support that in the main too.
Okay.
Because sometimes you just want to tinker for something like that.
Okay, I can see that.
And you can pitch it to force.
In a weird way, remember when we were doing the bug thing and we were trying to find the best like Hull Breacher pseudo combo? Like
Yeah,
this,
it's probably this.
Yeah, this has the pseudo combo with Hull Breacher and the Time Twister and Wheel of Fortune, but it has a better plan than Bug does by a wide margin. I like that a great deal. And this does get, yeah, this gets pieces of this combo too. So you can mystical into, if you have this, and
Yeah.
that's nice. That's very nice. Okay, so it's got some pieces going for it. These are coming in, so I can automatically shove this into the sideboard, and I'm going to shove an Abrade in the sideboard too, because both are decent sideboard options, frankly. But we have 6, maybe 7.
Let's check our blue card count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's not bad. I'd like more, but that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if we can find 4 blue replacements here, it'll be great, right? Because we're trying to keep that count high. I understand why you don't like dig through time, given Yawgmoth's Will and these are sitting in here. Like, you do want the ability to shovel them back in, and exiling gets...
It's also, like, it's kind of slow.
Yeah.
And this deck, like, wants to do shit now.
I agree. I agree. The Fluster Storms, I think Force Negation's just a stronger pull at this point.
Absolutely.
And that's,
absolutely.
I think where we go is just 2 Force Negation in the main. At least 1.
I was thinking 4.
You think 4? Do you think it has the ability to recover like Oath does?
With all these draw 7s?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, so we push into forces. That's easy enough. We don't get to run Energy Flux in this one. That's for damn sure.
No.
Alright, so here's 3 forces to put in.
Yeah, these are, let's see, these are out. And the more I play with the force of negations, the more I like them.
Yeah. They do a lot of work. They do a lot of work. They don't protect on your turn, but this isn't a deck that necessarily needs that.
No, this is, I think that's part of why you want the counters here, is to not get fucked by someone else's combo or their hate necessarily.
What do we think about that?
I think that's probably reasonable in here.
I mean, my reasoning on it is...
Personal tutor?
Yeah, again, we're getting into... This gets sorcery, right? So we can get Tinker. We can get either of these 2 pieces.
Yep, that's
We can get
absolutely
Yawgmoth's
legit.
Will. We can get Time Walk.
Yep, personal tutor is worth playing in here.
Okay, let me grab a sleeve for it. Let's sleeve it up. And then I will look for the last force. And it's a blue card, which, again, excellent when we're playing this many forces. Okay, force negations. I know I've got more of you hanging around. This is also a consideration, I think. I don't know that it's a good one, but it's there.
No, I think not with double blue.
Okay. Let's get that last force negation in. And then we have just a few more slots to really figure out. Because now we're at... Do we have any free slots now?
No, we got one.
We got one. Okay, so it's the paradoxical versus like a dig through time. Is that where we're at? Do we need a piece of removal in the main in case they have things like Hole Breacher? Do we need, you know, like, do we need the bolts?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If we wanted a piece of removal, if that's what we were worried about, I think I would prefer a repeal.
True.
Because it can get pitched, and all of our tutor, except for personal tutor, can get it.
And you think that's stronger than paradoxical in this?
It's good when you're ahead.
Okay.
That's my problem with it.
It's good when you're ahead, but doesn't
Right.
push.
That's not the plan of this deck, and it's good when you're ahead. And you saw, like, I used it to draw 5, and it's, oh shit, that's not enough.
Right, and repeal with this many moxes is just kind of a cantrip anyway.
Can be if it needs to be. Although I'm still not sure if it's like a. I mean, it can also stop whatever's randomly fucking you over.
Right.
Some random hate piece like energy flux, and you'd be like, I'll pick it up for now. I get another turn.
True, true. And in the sideboard of a lot of these, there are Hurkyl's recalls for that reason. The ability to just bounce on end step and go off on your turn is a big thing for a lot of decks.
Of course, I guess that's sort of the point of this.
Yeah, but that doesn't bounce.
Their shit.
Yeah, at all. It only gets yours.
So yeah, I guess I would start here. I don't know why we have more red sources than black sources. That doesn't make sense to me.
Different build. It can get shifted. One moment. Let me grab. I think I still have an underground sitting in here. There should be one. It also might be being used as a proxy in another deck. There's the underground. Alright. Like, I don't know if I did the thing that way. And we can have another in case we need it. But I think a 3-2 is correct. Now there isn't much red in here anymore. There's literally DAC and wheel.
And the sideboard. That's the more important part.
Right.
Because the big deal for red is the pyroclasms. Or not pyroclasms.
Pyroblasts.
Pyroblast and the Biforce.
Right. Right.
It's substantially for sideboard cards.
And the reason we're on Biforce, Chad, is Energy Flux screws you, and Shattering Spree, you don't have enough red sources to do it reliably. But
Also
you can...
screws you.
Shattering Spree?
Oh, Shattering Spree. I thought you said Shatterstorm. Yeah.
No, Shattering Spree. But we can't go with either of those really. But Biforce does a great job of scaling for you. And I have an additional one if we need it, which we probably will.
Probably.
I'll fish it out. I like the Dax in this actually because with the Hole Breachers, it also has... It's a mini one of these where it can just kind of shove them out of the game quickly.
Right. Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, I think DAC earns its place here. Like, personally for me, this is where blue decks start in this format, is 8 forces. It's so goddamn good.
Got to make sure that the walls are up immediately.
It's like if you can get north of like 20 blue sources, I think that's enough for these.
I could see that. I'm sure there's Karsten.
I think in my Oath deck, I've got like 23 or 24.
Sure.
But I pushed it up really high.
That makes sense. That makes sense. There's Biforce. Do we want things like Ragavan in this deck? I don't think so, but I've seen people keep playing it in this. So it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I would main deck it. I don't know. I guess you can always dash it if they're on Oath.
Right.
Ragavan is interesting. It gives you more cards.
It forces another angle to be dealt with.
Yeah, I'm into it, actually. I want to find room for some in the main, then.
Let's see. There's other things that we're going to have to consider, like dress downs in the sideboard. I don't think the rest of this is going to be of relevance. Yeah, I don't think the rest of it's going to be of relevance. But that, to me, is intriguing. we're fitting Ragavan in, the repeal's probably where it goes.
Yep.
I think that would be the call, is you do one Ragavan over one repeal. I don't think you want two Ragavans.
That makes sense.
I've had it. It's so awkward when you have the second one in hand. Then you're just waiting for them to kill the first one, and when they do, it usually means that they found a way to shut off the second one. It's just... And that also follows you have 5 castable creatures, the ability to get some treasures off that.
6 castable creatures.
True. Looks like a hell of a main, actually. I really like this tutor into a number of different plans.
Yeah.
Let's see, by force, you're going to go in. Okay, the ley lines have to stay. But I don't like Fluster Storms. So
Teferi's Puzzle Box is a card I'd be interested in on the sideboard.
Oh, okay, because you want to be able to lock with... Is it a full lock with Hull Breacher?
No, it's a lock with Narset, but like with Hull Breacher, they're only going to get 1.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might not be good enough, especially when we're talking about sideboard cards, which should be sledgehammers in this format.
Yeah, I don't think a Braid's going to end up on the sideboard. So we'll have a free slot for free.
I don't like this at all.
Okay. 2 slots open then. I liked it a lot more before Hogaak Vine.
I don't like this either.
Okay. I liked it more before Hogaak Vine decided that they were going to utilize Gaia's Cradle to get around Tabernacle. Right. And once they made that shift, it made it a lot harder to make it.
It's Tabernacle ain't what it used to be in this format.
Right.
I think a lot of people are really slow to adjust to that. I keep seeing it in sideboards of decks that it theoretically is good against.
Interesting. It's a very odd way to... Okay. Then again, it's vintage. There's a lot of people that I think don't put as much thought into it. They do a lot more net decking and push that angle, so it makes sense.
So, how many slots do we have?
3.
I'm not totally sure. I'd have to think this through a bit more deeply, but
sure.
Like an additional opposition agent, I would like.
Okay. Let's see if we have one. There might be in this one, actually. Let's check some piles, chat. And move some of these decks out of the way. And away we go. Get some of these just out the way.
Dress down.
It does a lot.
Yeah, it's a subtle card.
The problem is it's also good against us because it shuts off our constructs. And it turns off Hull Breacher. I don't think it gets played in this.
No.
Oh, Lord Skitham, by the way. Your stone brains are in. I'll be holding them for you, buddy. What else do we like in this? I'm trying to think if there's anything of relevance.
I think you gotta play 4 of these.
4 of them. Alright.
How are we going to beat shops?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find anything else of relevance in this sideboard.
I mean, unless you want to play null rods.
Turns off our shit.
Right.
I don't think that's better than energy flux at that. I'd rather play energy flux at that point because at least it auto shuts them out. Whereas null rod, they're just, it's awkward all around. They can still power through. Remember when you could play 4 Tinker? What an era. What an era. So I went...
And people didn't do it until it almost rotated out of standard.
Really?
Yeah.
Wild. Okay. Not seeing...
It was a powerful standard.
Not seeing additional buy forces at the moment, nor am I seeing additional opposition agents.
That'd be something to think about. I see, like, I don't just, like, sit down and, like, lay some cards out and be like, okay, that's it. I kind of just open them up into a deck list on Scryfall.
Sure.
And then, like, start doing a bunch of numbers.
Sure.
And then, you know, move shit around. If I did it your way, I'd be like, I'd have cards everywhere. That's why I don't do it that way anymore.
Sure. The braids are going to be proxies for buy forces because I only have 2. But I'm assuming I can pick up a couple pretty easily, and that'll be the opposition agent, which also pretty easy to pick up a couple. I went all in on Shattering Sprees. Went all in on Shattering Sprees. Should have gone all in on Biforce. Ruh-roh. I really thought that Izzet Murktide deck was going to be the truth in the way.
It was interesting for a while.
We've had a lot of decks in Vintage that have gone that way. It's kind of wild in a way, chat, because we've had, I think, 5 decks that have come out of the gates and just boom goes the dynamite, and then once we take some of the decks that require a bit more thought and adjust, those linear strategies have fallen. The only exception I can think of is Workshops has gotten better every month that we've tuned it up.
This is true, but it's not because we've made it more linear. It's because we've thought harder about how it interacts with the format.
True. True. Drawing all the cards.
Yeah, this is a fine start. This is a fine start.
Or force opponent to draw 3. I guess there's a fun scenario where you just want 3 treasure tokens.
Well, actually, sometimes you use that to beat Doomsday.
Oh, right.
When they've got their Thassa's Oracle trigger on the stack, and then you just deck them in response.
Right. Right, force them out. Oh man, and Doomsday's pretty close to its best iteration that I've seen.
I don't think any of us know enough about it to say that. It feels good though.
It feels strong, and I like that it's starting to lean harder into the discard and less into Flusterstorm land.
Yeah, Doomsday's a deck I want to spend some more time with because of that. I think the duress type cards are really good in there because of the information that you can get. And you can go after your combo faster and harder.
Okay, so this has Hercules and Biforces, and that's part of how it's going to deal with shops. The question is if it needs the other 2 Biforces.
Yeah.
Which
we'll have to run some games to know.
Right, right. That's not going to be immediately knowable.
Something else I want to figure out is like run shops against shops and figure out what's actually good in the board. Because I don't believe that Null Rod is the best thing that we could be doing.
I don't think it runs it in our sideboard.
A lot of them do.
That feels weird and wrong.
Yes.
That's like saying I'm going to get ahead and never worry about top decks again.
Right.
That feels wrong. And frankly, I do think the best... I don't know this yet. I want to test it out. We have Golos versus Aggro shops that we're going to have to do at some point. But I'm very, very curious if Golos just can't keep up. Because I've heard that that's the case, and I haven't tested it, so I don't know.
Yeah, we should find out. And you know what? We should also take a look at, like, what advantages Golos presents over the regular shops build, if any. Because if it does present some significant ones, we should tune that as well.
True. True.
I think this is a good place to start with this. Yeah. But this is going to take some thought and some tinkering.
Yeah. We did it. We did it. I don't know. I love that this is already something I really want to push forward with because there's Hull Breacher and like the pseudo combo.
Yeah.
And that's the backup. It's not like Bug where that was it. You hit it and like you didn't win, but man, did you get ahead? Like this.
Well,
feels much stronger.
I like this so much better in the main because there's so many times where like I could bust off an early tinker, but this isn't really what I want to go into.
Right.
And I like having a different like big fat nasty problem.
And again, only solved by Boseiju, right? As far as I know. That's really the only... I mean, sure, Swords to Plowshares for some decks.
Right.
But those are the only 2 cards I see with any regularity in this format where, like, Sphinx goes... Meh. And that's fine, because you can board it out against those decks pretty easily.
You know, actually, we should also consider... we should consider a copy of... I don't know, maybe it's a little too crazy, but...
Blightsteel?
Cityscape Leveler.
Oh my god, because it hits on cast trigger.
Yep. And
you can unearth it.
Yep.
That's fascinating. We also technically could put a Portal of Friction in here.
You'd be probably better than this, actually.
You think?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm back and forth. I don't know.
I'm into having it in the 75, though. Being able to tutor a Wrath that just starts pulling shit from their graveyard onto the battlefield seems good.
Yeah, not a full Wrath, but situationally, definitely a Wrath.
It's going to be a Wrath most of the time.
Let me see if I can... I know I already have them. I picked them up for this exact reason. Yeah. I took one look at that card and I was like, yep, getting them. Situationally interesting.
After 5,000 years. What time we got?
We've got like 5 more minutes at most. Where do you want to fit it is really the question. Because that does get sorted by Oko, but you at least get the ETB trigger.
Right.
That said, it does...
This is probably a sideboard slot.
Okay. Well, we've got them to give, so... Shoop. Portal to Phyrexia. I'm gonna try out some weird stuff with you. I've also been looking forward to trying this card. Seems like a lot of fun. I don't know what it probably goes over the 4th by force, is where I would start. I don't actually have an issue with keeping the 2 Hurkles because it is a 2-mana bounce your whole board, which is great against those aggro decks where they put all the counters in on Patchwork Automaton, and it does take them like 2 turns to deploy their hand most of the time. So you can get some advantages there.
Yeah, Hurkles can be legit.
And really, what you're going to do is end step Hurkles, untap Tinker, and go for the win. Or maybe you get to have the like live the dream against them and go end step Hurkles, untap Hullbreacher, Wheel of Fortune. You know, now you have nothing. I mean, this is a deck that can really abuse it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this cost with Sphere of Resistance, sometimes this just costs too much. This gets through. So I'm not sure on the Bi-Force versus Hurkles because I've seen paradoxical outcomes.
To me, it's not a versus, it's both.
It's both. Okay.
Yeah. It's just how many do we need?
Fair. And I can see the art. I don't know if we're going to go more than 2 Bi-Force is my point. It's a question mark.
We got to figure out what our shops matchup is like.
And I do love in the shops matchup putting Portal in over Bolas Citadel.
I'm into that.
You know, because I think the Sphinx is still super relevant against them, and obviously you want infinite turns if you can get it, but Portal can reset their board hard.
Well, and they have creatures worth reanimating, too.
Right, you can grab their shit, and every turn you have blockers for ever.
Yeah, the Sphinx for the lifelink and the first strike and the flying is quite good. The protection, of course, doesn't matter in those matchups, but the rest of the abilities remain solid.
I'm also somewhat giggling over the idea of doing this to Hogaak Vine and grabbing Hogaaks out of their grave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just every turn. All right, big fat derples. Let's go.
Thanks, bitch. Right. This is a fine start, I think.
I like it. It's a cool deck. I've been waiting to sit down and actually think through this because I wanted to try out all the weird shit first. Like, we had to try Cephalid Breakfast, we had to try the Goblin Welder builds and some of those. And I'm still messing with some Welder builds, but these decks, I understand why they're sitting. There's like 14 decks in tier 1, and I can understand why there's like a core of like 8 decks that are much more thought intensive but seem to pay massive dividends.
I tend to disagree with how all of them are built as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like that Doomsday deck. I do not agree with all those Flusterstorms.
I think Flusterstorm's just so overvalued in this format.
Yep.
I see it in all these lists, and I'm like, what are you... Like, it's just a sideboard card. It's so bad against shops. It's so bad against Hogaak Vine. It's so bad against Mono White Initiative. Like, it's just dead in those matchups, basically. Actually dead in most of those matchups.
I could see having it in the sideboard of Doomsday, and maybe 1 or 2 in the main, but... I don't know. Like, again, I don't know that deck very well, but...
4 seems like a lot. I would rather play Duresses than push forward. Because you can't really do Force Negation in a deck where you're trying to go off on your turn, but Duress protects.
Just, I mean, maybe in the long run I would be proven wrong, but it kind of reminds me of when we were playing, it got banned out of Modern.
Death Shadow?
No, the artifact that
Birthing Pod?
Birthing Pod.
Okay.
We're playing Birthing Pod, and we played it with 4 Siege Rhinos.
Oh, we played Training Wheels Pod, yeah.
Right, because, like, I mean, like, you couldn't do all the fancy Jason McClane shit.
Oh, yeah, Josh McClane was wrecking everybody.
Yeah. But, like, we couldn't play on his level anyway.
Yeah, we knew it.
So we just played all the Siege Rhinos, and it was just a Siege Rhino machine. And then if they tried to do something about it, we could combo off.
And it improved, like, 3 matchups we didn't think about, which was really fun, because I played all 3 matchups throughout the day, and it helped the mirror, weirdly. It definitely helped. Living End couldn't beat us all of a sudden, because Rhinos were just helixing them on both ends.
Right.
Yeah, it was brutal for them. And Merfolk had a huge problem with it as well, because once you landed a couple of Rhinos, you got your life under control, and you put a lot of pressure on them, and it wasn't you trying to combo off through their hate, it was Rhino o'clock, baby, and we're racing back and forth.
So my point is that I think that putting Duresses into Doomsday is kind of like putting Siege Rhinos into Birthing Pod, in that I think it's going to give us a lot more power while we don't understand, during the time we don't understand the deck as well.
Right.
And in the end, it might be correct and it might be incorrect, but I think it'll push our win percentage up immediately.
Right.
While playing the deck.
That makes sense. I'm sure there are people who are diehard Doomsday aficionados. I know there's a couple that have played it in the Vintage Challenges and just crushed with it, who are playing the 4 Flusterstorm build. So
Good players doesn't mean good deck builders.
That's also true. That's also true. And it's also a very different meta when you get to the online meta versus offline meta for Vintage. Wildly different metas. Like, offline's still regional based. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's so expensive to build.
Right. Can't really jump from deck to deck.
I would love to see a scenario where Vintage starts to just become a regular proxied format that everybody's cool with, instead of this scenario where it feels like it's just gatekeeping the rich.
Yeah. And
I hate that for paper. I'd rather just be like, yeah, 75 proxies. Let's go. Let's play it. Like, this is, in my opinion, the best format in Magic right now.
I agree. It's
fascinating. It's deep. There's at least 8 to 14 tier 1 decks, and there's tons of unexplored territory that we've been trying to find out. Like, hell, there's an Allurin deck that I'm still trying to figure out with Darth Zero. And I don't think it's great, but it's close. And there's, like, all these decks, all these combos that are only a few card printings away from being tier 1. Which means you gotta keep an eye on, like, 8 combo decks that aren't good enough yet, but might be in, like, another set.
Another reason I like 4 forces in the main of blue decks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of insurance.
Yeah, it's a lot of insurance. That's true. All right, well, we can leave it here for the evening. Thank you to everybody for stopping by. Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all coming out. Let's do a little raid action. Let's see who needs a little bit of love tonight. There's always somebody, right? Let's find the person. Ooh, Cifabredo Jr. and Hollywood Pizza. Oh, it's Hollywood Pizza, 100%. We always show a little love to Hollywood. If you have not checked out Hollywood's channel, you're about to. Please stay tuned and enjoy. Thank you so much for coming out and having some fun. And say hi to Hollywood. We're gonna go with you. We're gonna say hi too. He's a pet.